Hey, what is going on guys? Represent Stealth here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 pick or ban champions for patch 8.21. I will be putting them in order the best I can, so number 10 would be a good pick or ban champion, and then number 1 would be like an extremely must pick or ban champion for this patch. So to start it off here, at number 10 is going to be Lucien. So in my opinion right now, Lucien is the standalone best AD carry for 8.21. With Kai'Sa getting nerfed in this patch, she's no longer as good as she was in previous patches. Essence Reaver also got buffed in 8.21 here, and Essence Reaver as a second item on Lucien is doing very well here in this patch. Blade of the Ruined King into Essence Reaver. Black Cleaver is still a good option as a second item on Lucien, but depending on the situation, like if the enemy team doesn't have a lot of tanks, if they're not building a ton of armor, then Essence Reaver second with that Blade of the Ruined King just gives you a very strong mid-game spike. Coming in at number 9 is going to be a very strong duo with Lucien in this patch down in the bot lane, and it's Thresh. So Thresh right now, in my opinion, is one of the strongest just carry supports that you can play for 8.21. I think that Thresh, after he got buffed a few patches ago, and with a lot of the other supports getting nerfed as well over the past few patches, it just means that Thresh now kind of stands alone up top as one of these strong hard carry supports for 8.21. And then because these picks like Lucien, Draven, Misfortune are very strong for this patch, it just enables Thresh to be that much stronger if you're playing with a good early game AD carry who has the potential to follow up and give you some good follow-up damage. If you can land some hooks in the laning phase, then it just means your snowball potential in the early game is even better, and you have the ability to take over games really well for 8.21. And then just a heads up, if you are a Thresh player or you're thinking about playing him in this patch, after his W did get buffed a few patches ago, the max on Thresh right now that most pros are going and that's doing best is a Q max and then W second and E last. Most players right now on Thresh are going either E first or E second, and that's just not as optimal after the changes Thresh got a few patches ago. So number 8 here is going to be Talia. Now this one is more of a higher elo ban. I think that if you're in bronze and silver, banning out Talia shouldn't be your highest priority for this patch. I think that if this champion is played well, then she is the strongest jungler for this patch, but it does definitely take quite a bit of games and quite a bit of knowledge in order to play Talia at her potential. Talia's early game is pretty much unmatched by any other jungler. Her single target clear is really good, so she can get through her buffs, grab the Skull Crab, and look to gank really early on. Her ability to get around the map super quickly is also really good with her passive, so she can be in so many different places at once and influence the map really well in the early game. Coming in at number 7 here is going to be a top lane pick, and it's Jax. So Jax does get indirectly stronger in this patch with the Essence Reaver buffs. Right now Essence Reaver is doing great on Jax as a second item. You still do want to go for your Tiamat and for your Trinity Force most of the time on Jax there, but as your second or third item, Essence Reaver just makes you an absolute monster in the side lane. Your dueling potential once you grab Trinity Force and Essence Reaver becomes pretty much unmatched by any other champion in the game. So your ability to pressure side lanes once you hit that item spike and just pressure really well is great for Jax in this patch. So coming in at number 6 here is going to be Evelynn. So I don't necessarily think that Evelynn is the strongest jungler for this patch. The main reason to why I have her on this list here is because if this champion ends up getting 2 or 3 items, she becomes very hard to deal with in solo queue. In a chaotic environment in solo queue, Evelynn can just thrive really well in the mid game because it's going to be very hard for the enemy team to coordinate and track Evelynn in the mid game. Because of her stealth, it just allows her to really have great carry potential for solo queue. If you're playing mid lane or AD carry and the enemy team has a fed Evelynn, you just kind of feel useless and you just kind of feel like you can't really do anything for the rest of the game. You kind of just have to play passive, sit beside your team, and you can't really look to make any proactive plays when an Evelynn is in the game. So I think that's a very good reason to consider banning her out for this patch. So number 5 here is going to be a champion that just recently popped up over these past few patches, and it's Viktor top lane. So Viktor top lane right now into most of the meta top lane picks does really well. Q upgrade first and then into the Iceborne Gauntlet means that Viktor pretty much just can't die 1v1. Your ability to kite with that extra movement speed from your Q and the slow from Iceborne Gauntlet just means that the enemy is going to have a very hard time getting onto you. Your ability to just continually poke down the enemy in the laning phase with your Q is super good because his Q's on like a 2 or 3 second cooldown once he gets 40% CDR, so it's just very oppressive to play against. Klepto means that your ability to reach your mid-game spike gets even faster. You're going to be getting a ton of Klepto procs in the laning phase with your Q max there into melee champions. The only matchups Viktor really struggles with in this patch are if he's against high mobility or burst champions. So picks like Aurelia, Yasuo, Akali can do pretty well into Viktor because they can dodge out of his W. They're never really going to get hit by that. They do have the burst damage to take him out, especially when they do hit level 6. So Viktor's not going to be able to use the fact that he does have good kite and he does have good sustain damage if the enemy champion can just jump on him and burst him out right away. So number 4 is going to be that Aurelia pick. So for both the top lane and the mid lane, I think that Aurelia is one of the strongest, just hard carry 1v9 champions for this patch. If you can play Aurelia well, your outplay potential, your ability to hard carry team fights, if you can get that nice 4 or 5 man ultimate in a team fight, or if you can just consistently hit your ultimate on the high priority target, then you're gonna have a ton of success with Aurelia. Your ability to reset in team fights and just continually pick up kills and clean up team fights is some of the best for any champion in the game. So coming in at number 3 here is going to be LeBlanc. So LeBlanc is hands down the strongest early game mid lane champion in my opinion for 821. Her snowball potential is pretty much unmatched right now by any other mid laner, and her synergy with the meta junglers is very, very good. Right now we have Lucien, Xin Zhao, Graves, Talia, Camille. These really good like level 2 ganking junglers are just great with LeBlanc because if they want to level 2 gank mid, say you're playing with a Xin Zhao or a Camille, your gank assist with LeBlanc, with your chain and with your gap close is very good. She's got some of the best gank assist in the game, so your ability to just take over the game with these early game junglers is great for this patch. Taking the number 2 spot for this patch is going to be Akali. So Akali is pretty similar to Evelynn in the sense that if this champion gets ahead in the early game, if she reaches her mid game spike and you're playing mid lane or AD carry, she's just very hard to deal with in the mid game. Her one shot potential is very good. She's also super slippery in team fights because Akali can jump in, and if she makes a mistake and if she gets in on the back line and she doesn't want to be there, she just throws down her W and there's not really anything you can do about it. I think that if her W was changed in a way to where especially it didn't work under towers, then she would be a little less oppressive to deal with, but her W and her one shot potential just makes her a very strong pick for solo queue. And then last but not least here at the number 1 spot for this patch is going to be Kassadin. Now this pick here might be a little bit biased. I know that personally Kassadin has been a very hard champion for me to deal with over the past few patches. I'm pretty sure a lot of other people would agree with me that he is the number 1 ban right now because if this champion reaches 2 to 3 items, he is the strongest champion in the game overall. A 30-minute Kassadin is just very hard to deal with. The team that has the Kassadin, if the game does reach mid to late, is almost always going to win if the Kassadin can play the champion at a decent level. That's another reason to why I think he's so strong, is because you don't even really need a ton of games on the pick to really start doing well. He's pretty easy to pick up. At least some of these other champions like Aurelia and Akali, they do take a little bit more skill to play, but with Kassadin, once you reach 3 items, it's pretty brain dead. You jump in, you one shot, you don't have a single skill shot in your kit unless you count your E or your ultimate as a skill shot, but I wouldn't really. So I just think that he's overall pretty easy to execute champion, and if you can reach his spikes, then he becomes a very, very hard champion to deal with. So that is going to be all for this video, guys. Let me know down in the comments below if you agree with this top 10 for this patch. I know that these picks here are my opinion and what I think are the strongest picks for 821, but if you do disagree, if you do think that a certain champion should be on this list instead of a champion that I listed, then let me know down in the comments below. With that being said, guys, if you did enjoy the video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you've yet to already. So thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.